Did I mention to you that my son and I are playing Wobbly Life?
I remember you did a video talking about that.
I did, yes.
You're still going through that then?
Yeah, on and off.
Sure.
Mostly off these days for a good reason. So, the idea behind playing that with my son, obviously, it's very family friendly, very safe.
Uh-huh.
And also, like, you're doing jobs. It's GTA without the guns and hookers.
Right,
So,
right.
you do jobs, you get money, you can buy houses, buy clothes, all sorts of stuff. So,
Right.
teaching a child good values, getting them prepared for adult life in the future. It's come back to bite me.
Oh no.
My son's busting my balls. Like my 7-year-old son, sorry, soon to be 7-year-old son is busting my balls. So the premise in the game, it starts out you're living with your grandma, you're just playing video games all day, and she kicks you out and tells you to get a job.
Okay.
I'm playing games. My son comes home and he says, "Dad, you're playing games again?" "Yeah." "You gotta get a job." "Excuse me?" "Yeah, you gotta get a job."
Oh no.
We're moving countries, so obviously you have to, eventually quit your current job.
Right.
I've got a job lined up already.
Oh nice.
So I'm like, I've got a job already lined up. It's like, yeah, but are you working now? This is from a 7-year-old.
The Avengers, the Fellowship of the Ring, and that one group of Xbox players who said GG even when they lost. Once in a while, powerful forces combine to change the course of history. And sometimes, two good friends just team up because they happen to have microphones, questionable memories, and a shared addiction to game bundles. Memories are booted up, bundles are broken down, and the only thing epic is how long it takes us to remember that game from 2009. Welcome to Humble Talk.
The Thaumaturge, that was your game.
Yeah. Yeah, that was my game. So I put in maybe another hour or so
Okay.
into it. But it's basically just more setup. So the beginning bit was you're in Georgia, I think it was. You're in Georgia and they're basically teaching you like, who's this
Hmm.
character? How do you play the game? What are you doing? Like you mentioned like CSI with magic or
Yes.
something like that, and essentially it was that. But then once you get to Warsaw, they're trying to set up like I guess like the main initial conflict for that particular act, which is you're going back to Warsaw because your father died, but he died kind of under like mysterious circumstances.
Okay.
It's basically just that. So I didn't really get far enough to get that much deeper into the game, really, because it's a big RPG, right? So
Absolutely, yeah.
that's just how it is. But I still liked what I was playing. The voice acting I think is really good.
Yeah.
I really love the setting just because it's something it's just not done. Turn of the 20th century Warsaw, like what? I've never came across that setting before.
Yeah.
I didn't mention this in the in my review, but I like that they used Rasputin,
Yeah.
like that historical figure. I guess I can't say that I know that much about him, but what I do know is I think pretty typical to anybody who might know stuff about Rasputin is just like he was kind of like this like into dark magic or something, feeding whispers into the Tsar and kind of like running Russia, and he's kind of he's very depicted as like kind of evil, I guess.
Yeah.
And when you look back at him and read stuff up on him, it's like, yeah, that doesn't sound like a good dude. But the way that the game portrays him is vastly different. So that was pretty interesting. One thing that surprised me about the game, and it could just be very well that I'm just in the beginning of the game and it hasn't really quite opened up to me yet, but all the areas feel very linear,
Okay.
which feels a bit weird. My most recent CRPG experience would probably be that new arc line that I did. I did a video back some time ago, which was like steampunk meets magic kind of world. That had a fairly large area to explore, but it's because it was like this big city.
Okay.
And then before that would be Baldur's Gate 3,
Oh,
which,
wow, yeah.
that'd be a hard comparison next to any CRPG really. But so of course Baldur's Gate 3 though has like really big areas to explore.
Hmm.
And this just feels kind of like much smaller. It feels weird too, not like rummaging through everybody's like chests and crates, and because there's really no items in the game as far as I can
Yeah,
tell. It's
zero.
just it's just talk to people
Yeah.
and do the magic CSI.
Yeah.
Overall though, I found it I'm still intrigued. I still want to keep playing it. One thing you mentioned though, one of my commenters also said this as well. But you said that like when you started the game up, it was started up in
It
Polish.
did. I did some research into it as well. I say research. I googled it. I came across a few posts on Reddit and whatnot, and it seems like there are other Steam Deck users in particular where it just loaded up in Polish for some odd reason. You didn't get that on PC?
No, I did not get that on PC. It just loaded up in English. However, this happened to me even during my time like doing the review. I just didn't mention it because I didn't think it was that big of a deal, but it happened like 2 or 3 more times when I was playing it. I did get a graphical bug where like the bottom 1/4 of the screen
Mm-hmm.
would be kind of like messed up.
Okay.
And the only way that I could get out of it was either reloading the game or sometimes I'd have to go back to the main menu and reload. So that was actually quite annoying because it happened several times
Oh,
and
wow.
I'm not really sure why.
That's very disruptive.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I didn't have anything like that. Once the languages changed over, I was set.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if maybe it was like a graphical option that I just needed to change and maybe that's what was causing it. But yeah, I didn't really look into it because again, it was just like, okay, I'll just reload my game, I guess. It's not a big deal.
I really did like the whole sending out the vibes and that red cloud or that mist going out, and then you could kind of see it interacting or at least shaping differently around the objects you could interact with. I thought that was really, really well done.
Yeah.
I also did like the transition between like the isometric top-down to the over-the-shoulder RPG, and
Oh,
then also
yeah.
to like the in-person kind of, well, in person, but like looking directly at the faces for the cutscenes.
Yeah.
That was really well done for engaging the player and combining all these different presentation methods together.
Yeah, I really did like the way combat was presented. I thought that was pretty cool, kind of different. Combat in general, I guess I pretty much liked. I mean, it's not like it's breaking any boundaries or anything like that. It's not setting new ground, but it was still fun.
Yeah.
Amnesia the Bunker.
When we talked about this one, you were putting off playing this one. Like, you were looking forward to it, but like you
That's
were
right.
kind of putting it off because it is a horror game and it's got that highly sought after, like, create tension in the player and get them really nervous.
Right. Yeah. So I was thinking about this after I played. So I did play it again, and I only played it for maybe about a half hour
Okay.
before I was like, okay, I got my fill. And I was thinking about like horror games in general.
Mm.
I think that's roughly about how I play horror games. Usually what I'll do in a horror game is I'll play through a section and then I'll feel like, all right, I'm good. I'm ready to set this down. Like I can't just play a horror game for like, like several hours. I think I just get too wound up. This game was kind of different though because it's open world, I guess. I mean, that's probably not the right term for it, but that's essentially what it is. It's very, like you have a general idea of where you're supposed to go.
Mm-hmm.
But you kind of have to explore like everywhere because you need to get those resources, specifically that fuel, if you want to keep surviving.
Mm.
For me, it was like, I'm going to go, out into the void once more. I'm going to explore around, get some resources, come back. I might do that a couple times until I clear like a room or two.
Mm-hmm.
And then I felt like, okay, I did it. I'm good. And then I turned the game off. I mean, that being said, for me anyways, the atmosphere is just absolutely perfect. They nailed that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's pretty crazy how tense the game made me feel, even though that in my entire time with the game, other than that very first stint when the monster drags that guy away, I only saw the monster one time, and it was just the hand, like a claw, coming out of the hole in the wall.
Okay.
It had heard me, and it was like kind of like coming my way, but didn't really come out.
Okay.
And that's it. That's the only time I actually saw the beast. I mean, I heard it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, making noise and everything. And I think there was one time where it was chasing me because I made too much noise, but I didn't bother like turning around. It's like booking it back to the safe room to make sure that I could, close that door, lock it.
Yeah.
Oh, another thing I wanted to say. This has been a problem for me ever since Dark Descent, but could they make opening and closing doors like just a little bit easier? Just a little bit easier. I swear, like sometimes it feels like my character has never encountered a door before in their life and is just like ignorant as to how they work.
For me, I think there's a strong honorary mention, or something that's definitely worth praise, is the generator and how that's done. That whole feeling of dependency on the generator.
Yep.
And, oh, I found a bit of fuel. Let's get this fuel back to the generator, get the lights on, and get me some safe time. The amount of time that generator is up and running from the fuel, like, it's always just not enough.
Yeah.
It's not, like, too short, where it's like, you know, there's no point bothering to do it. But it's always like, it feels like it's never just enough, and it's balanced so well that you're contemplating, do I go get more fuel in this one run, or do I go back and give myself more time?
Oh yeah, most definitely. That pretty much every single run I would do, I would always be like, oh god, I hope I find another fuel canister.
Yes, yeah.
Like, I've already used them, this is my last one, so I have to find another one, or I'm gonna have to go out here in the dark. And, you know, using that like, flashlight that he has is just the absolute worst, 'cause it stays on for like 20 seconds, and you gotta wind that thing up.
It's like, oh, yeah, okay, the thing's definitely coming for me now.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically like a kill me now thing. Yeah. Like, just pull the cord and kill me now.
Hey, I'm over here. Just, you know, let's make it easier for both of us.
Right.
I really like the inventory management as well. It's the same thing. It's like, it's always like enough to, you know, get enough resources back, but you always wanted to take more with you.
Right.
And so you do have to prioritize what you take, which is usually, you know, going to be fuel and maybe like a med kit, that kind of thing, right?
Right. Yeah, no, well, you had to think carefully about what you wanted to bring with you each run out into the bunker. Like, it got to a point where I was like, okay, I'm not going to bring my gun with me because I need that extra slot to carry something. Because my justification for it was, well, even if I see the creature, I'm probably not going to be able to shoot it straight anyways. And I only got like one bullet, so I assume that the gun is used more for utility in that game rather than actually, like, maybe shooting the monster might slow it down to give you that extra inch you need to get back to the safe room, but I assumed it was more for utility than anything else.
I think so too. Like, the one time I used it was to set off a trap, so, you know, I wouldn't burn to death.
Yeah, I saw. Yeah, you know what I did? I just opened the door, and I got burned.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I did take damage. I had to use one of those med kits. My only thing with the game is, so right now it is pretty terrifying. However, I could see this as being something that might be abused later on. You know, as a player understands what the limitations might be for the creature. Because, like, you know, right now, I just assume that the monster will literally jump at me anytime I make a noise. But my guess is it's probably a bit more nuanced than that, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
I played some horror games before in which, like, you know, once you basically see, like, the ones and zeros, so to say.
Seeing the Matrix code.
Yeah, exactly. You could just start exploiting the enemies. Like, I'm thinking of one in particular that we got a couple years back was, it was like Made, Scare, wow, what?
Do we need to name that game?
Name that game.
Name that game? All right. Go.
Okay, so there's a hotel, everybody's going crazy. The men in particular are going around killing everyone.
Oh! Time's up.
I was really close. Made of Scare. Scare? I don't know how to pronounce the word.
Maybe I don't know it. Maybe I'm thinking of a different horror game set in a hotel.
Yeah, so it's made of, but Scare isSker, because it's like actually like a location, I guess.
Okay.
I think the game took place in like Wales or something like that.
Oh, God, that looks terrifying.
Yeah, it says history from Welsh folklore. I like the premise of that game, but the enemies were just, you could definitely exploit them. They were pretty easily exploitable, and it kind of ruined the immersion a bit. So I just kind of wonder about that here with Amnesia. Like, once you start getting idea for the creature, is it something that you can, like, exploit or not? I'm going to assume probably no, because this game has, like, just really great reviews. So I'm assuming that the developers thought of that.
I was thinking of a different game.
Oh, what were you thinking of?
I was thinking of Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, I think.
Oh, really?
But I was thinking of the haunted hotel.
Yeah, with the ghost. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I was way off. I had no idea for that name, that game.
Well, you know, you win some, you lose some. Pretty much mostly lose some, but
we lose most of them.
Yeah. Evil West. also my game, but we played this together. So, what were your impressions of our time with it?
Well, I think we both covered it in our videos, and we've also talked about it a lot as well. It's it's like a B movie basically.
Definitely.
That's a good thing, I think, for like video games.
Yeah.
You want to like sometimes you don't want to get into anything too serious. You just want to, go around as a cowboy killing vampires
Killing vampires, exactly.
and using like ridiculous technology and all sorts of stuff, ridiculous combos as well. The co-op experience. Like, it does feel different to the single player experience.
Mhm.
The way it's all designed and written, it's not really meant for co-op because you're both playing the same character. We've joked about,
Right.
one of us is a clone, which one is it kind of thing. I'm having fun.
Oh, yeah.
I'm definitely having a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, definitely.
Is it like, a hearty meal kind of thing where you go back and think about the game and re-evaluate your life after playing it? Certainly not.
Yeah.
Sometimes you want a snack.
Yeah. It's like how I would describe basically like a decent B movie is like a popcorn movie.
Yeah,
basically.
definitely. That's the one.
Yeah, that's exactly how this game is.
Evil West is popcorn.
I really enjoyed playing this game with you as well. The combat's just really good.
Yeah.
I mentioned it to you the other day, but I love that so many things are just given right up front to the player.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Where you have these options. It doesn't feel overwhelming though. Like,
No.
yeah, I will say there were some things that I started forgetting to do, like the interrupt and stuff like that, because once you get that electric gauntlet, like it really kind of opens up more possibilities. But I really appreciate how they just give it all to you. Like when we were playing, I couldn't help but think of roguelites. One of the things that I don't like about roguelites for the most part is that so many of them kind of like gate the different tools or characters or what have you
Oh, I see.
behind like grind through multiple runs. So like that there's cooler stuff that you could be using,
Yeah.
but you're not allowed to use that stuff until you play like X amount of runs to get X amount of experience to unlock those things. And I despise that. And so that's why like I just appreciate that like Evil West it's not wasting our time. It's just like here's a bunch of cool stuff. Use it. And also if you want, like as you play the game, you could also get upgrades and stuff for that cool stuff we already gave. I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, I think there's a lot that can be said for a game that makes you feel really strong. You said as well, it's never like overwhelming, it's never like too much.
Right.
And I think one of the cool mechanics they have to achieve that, you can easily get overwhelmed and you can take a lot of damage if you're not paying attention and not doing it right.
Oh yeah.
But then also like there's enough mechanics in there to, you get enough of a combo going and then you can get your health charge back up and heal yourself quite a lot. Or you can, try and get the enemies into a finisher state, finish them and get bonus health from that. The constant swings of your health bar, I think, is a really fun mechanic.
Yeah, definitely. The other thing I wanted to mention, which I told you this the other day, I'm still surprised at just like how much lore and actual thought they put into like the lore behind the monsters or even the story. Like it's actually kind of interesting, which, I just wouldn't expect for this very just straight action kind of game. So it's appreciated though. Like I really enjoy it. But yeah, it's still surprising to me though.
Well, even the notes, they're all voice acted.
Yeah, they're all voice act. That's another thing too. Like they definitely didn't need to do that. That's actually really surprising that the notes are voice act, and all the voice acting is pretty well done.
I think it's very good. Obviously, the
well.
characters are all like very cliche.
Yeah, incredibly cliche. Yeah.
But the actors do a brilliant job with the material.
I think if there's anything at all to knock about the game is that in co-op that we had a couple kinks there where we had to reload from a checkpoint. That obviously kind of sucks, but it's not that big of a deal. Shadow Gambit. This one was yours.
That's mine.
Right?
Yeah,
Right.
I put a lot more time into this one in particular. Like all my games when I was going through, I was enjoying the current one I was playing so much that I kind of kept putting off stopping it and going to the next game. So this one, I think I got through the first 3 missions.
Oh, nice.
I'm having a lot of fun with it. It's really well polished. I don't think I put 2 and 2 together. The company Me, is it?
Yeah.
I don't think I kind of clicked that they were the developers of Shadow Tactics.
Oh, okay.
You can clearly see like it's the same style of game.
Yeah.
And I've never actually played any of the Desperado series. And I kind of want to do that. I think I'd enjoy it. Because it's Wild West, isn't it?
It is, but from what I understand, though, Desperados 3 is the only one that Me Games developed. In fact, I think Desperados 1 and 2, They're not even like tactics games.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I think the only one, if you want to get a similar experience, would be Desperados 3.
Okay, makes sense. And I think that was in a humble bundle
It
quite a
was,
while back,
yeah,
right?
like
Yeah.
several years back.
Unfortunately, I missed it. I did play quite a fair bit of Shadow Tactics. So
Okay.
unfortunately, I was able to compare the two of them. Like I said in my video as well, a lot of it was copy-paste.
Mhm.
Obviously, the core of it is the same, like down to the controls. But I think they really did improve upon the whole formula by having that hub there
Okay.
with the ship and going back to that and doing stuff around there, having all the training stuff you can do there, having the non-linear character unlocks.
Right, right. And there's more characters, I think, this time around, right?
There were quite a few characters in Shadow Tactics. Oh, I'm trying to... It's been a while since I played it. I think there was probably about 5 characters in that one.
Right.
But you were kind of locked in onto who you could use in each mission. Whereas from this Shadow Gambit, I'm fairly certain there's a lot of flexibility in who you do and don't take.
Oh, yeah, yeah, definitely. Like, 'cause, I mean, even in the very beginning, you get a choice between the one cook or the ship doctor. I wasn't really quite sure who I didn't choose her. I chose the cook.
Yeah, me too. Just for the flute, or the whistle to attract people over.
Yeah. His teleport thing was pretty cool too. I like that.
Oh, that's amazing, that one.
Yeah,
I like
yeah.
dropping it on people and then when they're out of sight, like teleport to them and do the whole 7 slashes thing.
Yep.
So you mentioned in this one the whole quick save thing. Like obviously Shadow Tactics had the quick save, but it didn't really integrate it as like part of the story.
Yeah,
It's more like there for the player and not really embedded into the narrative of what's going on. Obviously mechanically it does nothing different, but how did you feel about that compared to something like Shadow Tactics with a quick save?
You mean as far as it being integrated into the lore?
Yeah.
I thought it was a clever way to integrate something to sort of like one make it make sense as to why like you can travel back in time, I guess is essentially what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of clever. I mean, because it's definitely something that you pretty much have to do. I could see those reminders kind of being annoying, like when she's like, "Hey, use my power."
Yeah.
But for me, like personally, like when I went back to it, I played just one mission, one extra mission.
Okay.
But I was like, oh yeah, that's right. I need a quick save because I haven't done it in so long. I'm pretty sure the other games did it as well to give you the reminder. I know specifically Desperados 3 did. I can't remember if Shadow Tactics did or not.
I think it did from memory.
But yeah, like like you said, it was basically just like, hey, quick save. Whereas here, it's part of the world building, which yeah, I think that's pretty cool.
I think also including it as part of the world building as well. You don't feel like dirty doing save scumming, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because it's encouraged.
Yeah, you're right. That actually is a really smart way to encourage the player to do it. Because I mean, they even like in the other games as well, that they would say like, hey, make sure you quick save, quick load.
Yeah.
This is essentially how you play this game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could definitely see people just being like, I'm not going to do that,
Yeah, I'm elite. I can do this.
Right. But I mean, like I said, like in my video, like unless you're like some sort of like tactical stealth action god, like, the rest of us, we all got to use quick save, quick load. That's just how it's got to be done. I was going to say that I think that the game, though, does like give the player, I mean, this has been the same in their past games as well, but they just give the player a lot of tools, though, to figure out where's this guard looking? Can he see me? Can he not see me? Being able to pause the game, and kind of take stock. They give you so many ways in which you can try to avoid detection, which, it's pretty cool. I really like the ability to sync up the actions, which I think was something in Shadow Tactics as well. Probably all of them, honestly. Yeah, I think that's like really cool. You could sync up actions so that they could do like multiple takedowns at the same time.
Yeah, it's very cool. And pulling it off, like, it felt amazing.
Yeah.
I'm a mastermind when
Yes.
really all you've done is like told, you go here, kill that person. But it feels really cool.
Yeah, it does.
One thing that might deter players, like I think a lot of the mechanics and the story, that kind of stuff, it's going to be much more welcoming for new players, maybe people who don't play this kind of game, but it's going to speak to a wider audience, I think. The flip side, though, I think compared to some of the past entries, it could feel a little bit childish, the kind of setting where it's like ghost pirates, and it is a bit silly at times.
Yeah.
Personally, I didn't mind that. I found it quite enjoyable, but I do think maybe players who want that, kind of hardcore stealth tactics kind of experience, it could deter them a little bit.
Yeah, no, I could definitely see it. Like, this is much more, they're having more fun with the setting this time around as opposed to Shadow Tactics
Mhm.
or Desperados 3 even, or from what little I played of both. One thing that you had pointed out, you can basically kill with reckless abandon in
Yes.
this
Yeah,
game.
yeah.
There's a non-lethal option though. I know that was also a thing in Shadow Tactics, although I'm not sure, like I could be wrong, but maybe there was actually a point in Shadow Tactics to use non-lethal. I can't remember, and it just made me wonder, like, in this pirate game, like,
Mhm.
why is there even a non-lethal option?
Mm.
Maybe some missions might require you not to kill anybody, maybe?
From what I could gather, like from what I remember, first of all, from Shadow Tactics, is if you went through non-lethal, like each mission, you got a special achievement for that mission.
Oh, okay.
Whereas for this one, the only thing they've got is, I think, a Steam achievement,
Oh.
and that's it. Certainly less incentive to do it, right?
Yeah.
For someone like myself, if it's every mission I'm missing out on something, it's like, well, I should be playing this like non-lethal, and I kind of start tripping over myself and like when I have like the perfect run kind of thing.
Yeah.
At a certain point, it stops being fun, and you got to look at the content material. Like certainly in Shadow Tactics, it's ninjas and samurai. Like traditionally in Japan in that era, there was kind of less concern for killing people in those situations, and certainly as pirates, they wouldn't care at all. It's like especially them being undead pirates.
Right.
I think even one of the characters says that when you kill someone, it's like death isn't the final step or something like that.
Yeah.
Taking that pressure off the player to use non-lethal, I think is a really good choice.
Yo, yeah, definitely. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I still haven't completed Dishonored.
Oh yeah, that was the same thing there.
Yeah, because like I knew that if I killed too many people, I would get the, quote unquote bad ending. So every time I tried to play the game, like if I got caught at all, like,
Yeah.
I gotta reload now.
I was the same.
It got to be stressful is not the right word for a video game, but it got to be that kind of feeling
Yeah.
where I was just like I don't feel like I'm having fun with this because I feel like I have to reload every time I get caught.
Yep.
I don't mind stealth games, but I like it when there's the option to just be like, okay, I tried stealth. I tried it a couple times now. I can't do it. I'm just going to kill everybody.
Let's do this. Yeah, and just go full Rambo. Yeah, absolutely. Eiyuden Chronicle, 100 Heroes. Have I mentioned this before? I'm not really a JRPG guy.
Okay. Okay. No, I know you mentioned to me that you played the Persona series.
I played Persona 5.
Oh, okay. So I guess just Persona 5.
That was as a result of getting Persona 5 Strikers in the Humble Bundle.
I see.
One of the commenters said, like, you need to play, like, the original Persona 5. And so I'm like, alright, add it to the wish list, and then next time it came on sale, I picked it up. That's an amazing game. I think that's a JRPG for non-JRPG players. It is so well done.
Okay.
That's the kind of JRPG person I am. I'll like a JRPG that's done really well, something that's done to engage non-JRPG players, but the general, certainly like the retro turn-based ones, I'm not really into. And the biggest reason is usually like the feeling of the grind.
Yeah.
That's the first big one. The second one is like being lost, not knowing what to do. I hate that. I'm definitely not the target audience for this type of game. But having said that, I think Eiyuden Chronicle is done so well. It is very, very clearly like a typical JRPG. All the JRPG elements of it are done so well that even for someone like me, I actually found it quite engaging.
Okay. That's good to hear, because actually, I don't really play that many JRPGs either. For the last several years now, I've been going through each Final Fantasy game, starting with the first one.
Oh,
and
nice.
I'm on 9.
Oh, wow, gee.
There was a time when I was completing 2 of them a year, but now it's basically I complete 1 of them a year.
That's still decent. Those are some long games.
Yeah. So I definitely understand what you mean by like that grindy nature, because I absolutely hate that too.
Mhm.
I hate talking about JRPGs as if I know them, because like I played so few like modern JRPGs that I'm I'm just not really sure like if they've really evolved that much or not over the years. But yeah, the grind is one thing. Yeah, I definitely feel you too on the whole, here's this random thing that you got to do. Go and figure out where it is.
Yeah.
That happens so many times in Final Fantasy. We're just like, I guess I'm going to go to every single town that I could go to, every single place. I don't much care for that.
Mm-hmm.
Because, of course, you also have to fight like 100 random battles along the way.
Yeah.
Before you figure it out.
Yeah. And it just ends up becoming unnecessary filler for the sake of it.
Right. That's why I was a little bit like, on one hand, I'm like, oh, the auto battle thing is pretty good that's there. But on the other hand, I'm already using it. That's not good.
Yes.
You would think that with like, a front rank, back rank kind of thing, along with 6 characters, that there would be quite a bit of strategy involved. I'm literally just in like the first hour and a half or 2 hours or whatever it was. So I mean, it probably, I hope, maybe gets a little bit more strategic later on. But I just felt like, okay, well, I guess I just will use auto battle then,
Hmm.
because like there really is. I don't need to think about any of the things that I'm doing.
Hmm. So I've unlocked. I think I've got access to 7 characters now, and I'm going around to the larger world.
Mhm.
So I think I'm kind of into the meat of the game.
Okay.
The front and back, like the only interaction I've seen from that is if you've got a melee character, then obviously they can't really do much in the back rank, and that's about it.
Oh, really?
And I guess I assume that like melee enemies as well are going to have to go through like the front ones before they can get the back ones on most of their skills. But yeah, there wasn't really a whole lot of strategy based on that. I know from I forgot what they're called, but like the hero combo moves, which ones you can do are also dependent on who's in your party. So you could probably like eventually start to get synergies going from that by knowing, okay, these two have some kind of interaction and I can use that. You also don't really need to be focusing on that for building your parties. You could really just take your favorite characters and go. Oh, I remembered something you touched on in your video as well, and that was the just having so many characters. I think there probably are 100 characters you can eventually unlock just looking at the
Yeah,
game.
that's what I had read.
And then when you've got that many characters, like obviously you can't go too deep into them, and so they are like fairly tropey.
Mhm.
But I do think that the English voice acting is done so well that it kind of does cover for it, or it is strong enough to carry it. Speaking of the voice acting, completely surprised, but the English voice acting was actually better than the Japanese voice acting.
So after you had said that in your review, when I went to play it again to get some B-roll, I did start using the English. And yeah, I think I kind of agree, mainly because listening to it in Japanese, I think I'm at a point in my Japanese studies where I realize that the Japanese being said isn't really matching what's being said in English.
Mm,
It just kind of is a bit jarring when like some of these characters with the English that they'd say, like they have like a lot of personality in them that kind of was lost, I thought, with the Japanese versus the English voice acting.
mhm.
I don't know that I'd say every character was better in English, but I think overall, yeah, the English was actually pretty good. I tend to feel like in JRPGs and like especially like anime, there's so many like absolute tropey characters that
Yeah.
just they're kind of one note. They don't really have much more going on than, like, as I said, like 2 words to sum up their personality and like a good character art.
Mentioning like the characters as well, there was one thing that really threw me off, or that I didn't like.
Okay.
The characters, there is no set way to unlock them. You can go around the world exploring and then come across different ones, but obviously I came across a point where the game had expected me to unlock characters in a certain way, and so I was unlocking probably what the game wanted me to be the third optional character, but was actually my second. And so there was some kind of interaction where the protagonist was there, and my protagonist was having a one-sided conversation with someone who wasn't there about this other person they just encountered, and it just completely threw me off.
What?
And so I kind of had to guess what the other person would have said. Obviously, like there's 100 characters there. They kind of didn't expect the if-then logic to go in that direction, but it did.
I guess with that many characters, it's kind of bound to happen, I suppose. But that is very surprising, especially being relatively early
Yeah.
in the game. Yeah, I was just gonna say, going back to the combat, I did actually get to the point where like you unlock the hero combos and stuff like that.
Hmm.
I actually did enjoy those. Granted, it was literally just what like the main character and that one lieutenant, and I think later on there was another. Oh, the main character, and then Leon or whatever her name was, the annoying girl. But I did like those because it reminded me a lot of Chrono Trigger,
Oh, yeah.
like the combo text. And I mean, of course, this is everybody, but I mean, I absolutely adored Chrono Trigger. So, like, to see that, I was like, ooh, that'd be really cool to see like which characters combo with what, and
Yeah.
yeah, that was pretty cool.
That's another amazing JRPG that I did play and loved.
Supposedly, there's been rumors of a possible like remake, remaster, or something for Chrono Trigger, which would
Oh,
be pretty cool.
don't get my hopes up.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
I've
That's
been
what I
hurt
thought.
before.
Yeah, yeah. Star Wars Bounty Hunter. So this was your game.
This was me.
I do have a lot to say about this game as well, but I'll let you take
I
the
thought you
floor
would.
first.
We had very different takes on this one.
We did.
After like seeing your video, I thought, like I kind of did go through this one, not with like nostalgia goggles, because I didn't even know this game existed back in the day. But I did go through it with Star Wars goggles. And I think you're going to have a lot of people, a lot of viewers, even a lot of listeners of the podcast that are also going to have Star Wars goggles and are going to maybe enjoy it more than the average gamer would. But I think because it was what, a 2002 game?
Yeah, something like that. 2002, 2003. Yeah.
Yeah, around then. And so I think for like that time of game, it was ahead of its time. Like you've got the going around doing the scans of the bounty hunting, the autosave feature, like going through like some old message boards and whatnot. There really wasn't autosave in most games at that point. It was more like the recent one we did, Tomb Raider, right? Where you have to manually go in and save. So having that autosave, granted it was after the level, at the end of the level, but even then it's not something that was really done back then. Even though I do have those Star Wars goggles on, I'm also like not delusional. I do acknowledge that like having to like go around and scan everything and then fight does disrupt the combat and the flow of the action. And I also know like changing weapons, changing items, like scrolling through was also the same thing. It does break up that flow of the combat, where ideally you could, be doing everything on the fly. Although, like thinking back on it, the bounty scanning did actually slow down time, which was nice. And again, I don't remember any other games at the time doing stuff like that.
Actually, as far as the scanner thing goes, I had a commenter on Reddit who was basically telling me that actually there was a gameplay change, and that was maybe the only one. I can't remember exactly what he said, but he had said that when you would go scan in the original, it wouldn't slow down.
Ah, okay, that makes sense.
And because they were saying it's like, oh, well, maybe one of the reasons why you didn't care for the combat is because the slowing down of time kind of breaks up the fluidity
That's true.
of the moment. However, I think that I would be even more frustrated if it didn't slow down time.
I would panic. I would be jumping off ledges. Or sorry, jumping off more than I would be.
Right.
One other quick thing.
Mhm.
Obviously, the graphics. The game does show its age, even for a remaster with the graphics. They're pretty much straight from that era.
Most definitely.
I think, particularly without those Star Wars goggles on, like that will put off a lot of people.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, like obviously the graphics were, upscaled or whatever they did to them, but they're still kind of dated. The level design, like the environment design is still more or less the same. Nothing was kind of like changed there. Like I mentioned, like certain things just kind of felt a bit empty. That's just like how it was when I played through Knights of the Old Republic. So it's like I could get over that. That wasn't that big of a deal. But yeah, I guess overall, yeah, I was surprised at how well you seem to take Star Wars Bounty Hunter. For me, my thoughts were very similar to how I felt about Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
I mean, minus the fact though that I am pretty much a really big, Star Wars nerd. So I guess not quite the same because I didn't really play Tomb Raider. So I was, excited to get into this game, but the more I played of it, the more I was like, this definitely isn't for me. Like you mentioned the save system, like them doing autosaves. I mean, I guess that's great, especially for the time. But I just thought, like, I don't know, if you're gonna like remaster the game, like I feel like to me the save system felt like really archaic. We're playing this on PC, give us the option to be able to save whenever I want. I hated that if you quit mid-level, then you got to replay everything.
Yeah.
Sometimes like life calls you and you got to get up
and
turn the game off. And yeah, so I really didn't like that, especially because they had like a kind of like a checkpoint. Like if you were to die, then you'd use one of your continues.
Yeah.
Which also is something that's very archaic to me. But you could just continue back, and then like it saved all the guys that were already killed and stuff like that. So I don't know why they couldn't have just taken it a step further.
They definitely could have as the remaster. I get why they did it just after the level back in the day. Well, at least I think I do. I'm assuming this was like a Nintendo 64 game,
Wasn't
right?
it a Nintendo 64 game?
I'm guessing, like just looking at the graphics and whatnot. This is me like grossly assuming. Let's have a look. Let's have a quick look.
I'm really curious. Was it really? Oh, GameCube. PlayStation 2
Okay.
and GameCube.
Okay.
So one generation ahead.
I didn't actually own a GameCube and played very little of it, but I'm assuming that like the save system was very similar in that case.
I imagine so.
Certainly PlayStation 2 was the memory card. Even for PlayStation 2, that was more like the Tomb Raider style, where at the end of the level you go in there and manually save yourself. So I do get why they did that, just because saving was less reliable back then. They couldn't do like the constant autosave kind of thing, and it certainly, I don't think the game would be able to run as quickly if doing that. So I get why they chose that way of doing it back in the day, but you're right, there's really no excuse for leaving it as it is in the remake.
Yeah, like I mean, they could have left it as is, but like just give us the option to maybe play that, like, or for the people who just want that extra challenge, play that way. But then for everybody else, just give us a normal save
Yeah, no,
system.
that'd be a great way of handling it.
That was probably my biggest sticking point. But I said in my review that I didn't actually have a problem with the platforming, and that, like, especially once you get the jetpack, it makes things feel better.
Jetpack was amazing. I mean, that pretty much made the game.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because you get to play that Jango Fett fantasy.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, most definitely. However, I noticed that it was really frustrating for me, but Django would only sometimes grab onto the ledge when you're using your jetpack, and other times he wouldn't, and then you would just fall and then take a lot of damage. That got to be pretty annoying for me, and you just had to hit that ledge just right for him to do the grab. Yeah, I didn't really much care for that. One thing I did do, because one commenter had said, like, maybe it would just be better not to even try to engage with the bounty hunts, so that, like, I don't break that up. And I think, like, playing the game that way was better. Like, just ignoring the scanner, don't even bother scanning, and just gunning everybody down.
There's no real incentive to do it beyond, like, points at the end of the level, right?
Right, that's what it sounded like. Yeah, it seemed like it was just for points. It wasn't really for anything else. So I did find it more enjoyable, except once I got to the level right after where you're chasing down that guy with the speeder, and then you get to the next level. I didn't know what to do. Did you get past? It's like when you start off, you're on this bridge.
The one with like the conveyor belts and stuff, right?
Yeah, I didn't know where to go.
That one threw me off as well. You had to like fly off a bit to the side, and then eventually you did find where to go.
Right.
I fell quite a few times in that. I was worried I was going to get game over. But yeah, that first bit was a bit off-putting as to where you need to go.
Yeah, I think just with like all those things sort of combined, I don't know, like, as big of a Star Wars fan that I am, I probably would actually, like, knowing what I know now, I probably would actually place this in like my don't bother with section.
Wow, yeah, okay.
Unless you're like a really big Star Wars fan.
Yeah.
To me, it just feels, I guess, too dated.
Yeah, fair. I will say, like, in my video, I did give this the Grow Not a Show award.
Yeah.
I would actually give that to a different game now that I put in the extra time into my full games.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think probably Bounty Hunter is where we probably differed the most in terms of like what we thought about it.
When did this one come out, the bundle?
It would have been the 7th, or wait, the 6th.
Yeah, it would have been either the 6th or 7th, depending on where you are in the world.
Right.
The 11th. Yeah, after I put up my video on the 10th, on the 11th, I actually had a piano performance with my son doing the Star Wars theme.
Oh, cool.
I don't know what it's called in English, but doing like both of us playing on the same piano.
Okay.
But it's his last performance before we leave the country.
Right.
And so the teacher's like, what are you going to do? He's like, I'm going to play Star Wars, and I'm going to play it with my daddy.
That's cool.
I've done composing and arranging, and so obviously there was no sheet music for this, and so I actually wrote the two people playing on the one piano music for the Star Wars theme song.
Oh, that's really cool.
I wonder if I can play it for you. Obviously, for like listeners, I don't think we'd be able to play this on YouTube. We're likely to be cop blocked or copyright blocked on this one.
Right. Yeah, sure. Nice.
That's it there. So while I was playing the game, obviously like the practice is going on for this, and so I think that was like definitely contributing to my Star Wars goggles.
Yeah, I can see why. Yeah.
Without that, like I think I would have enjoyed it. Maybe I wouldn't have enjoyed it as much. Who knows? I can be objective and certainly say there were contributing factors to that. For this one here, I noticed something watching your video.
Okay.
We have a whole like tomato thing going with this. I think you say Ultros, and I say Ultros.
Ultros. I wasn't actually sure. This was one of those games where I was like, "Oh, man, I'm gonna end up saying it different, like, 3 different ways throughout the video." Yeah,
Yeah, there's always like games like that. I have no idea which one's right.
right.
It's like I said, I think it's like a tomato kind of thing. Like it doesn't matter what it actually is.
Yeah, yeah.
My experience playing this in the initial review
Mhm.
and then coming back to it for our deeper dives was very different.
Oh, okay.
It's very dependent on how far you get through it. And I said before, like for this one, I would have probably given the Shower Not a Grower award to a different game. That was this game.
Okay.
So I'm curious, how far did you get through? Did you get past like the first boss?
I did, and when I replayed it, I got to, like, a major element of the game.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. I'll let you share your
No,
thoughts
would
first.
you care to explain what that major element of the game
Oh,
is?
okay. Sure, sure. One of these commenters had sort of, like, talked about it, a little bit more, but when I played it, I experienced it for myself in that, like, you get this kind of, like, time skip.
Yes. Or time loop.
Time loop, right. Whatever it is, there's some sort of time that passes in which 2 big things happen. The first is you lose, like, all your skills
Mhm.
that you gained, which, when I was first reading that from the commenter, I was like, "Wow, that sounds very annoying. I don't like that." But the second thing that happens is that, I don't even really think I talked about it that much in my review, but the whole planting seeds and having plants grow,
Mm.
that is like a very important thing because when you go into this time loop, time skip, whatever it is,
Mhm.
all those plants grow into like larger stages to allow you to have further exploration
Mhm.
into the map, which kind of gets rid of that need for like always needing that double jump
Mhm.
or whatever. Honestly, it's just really clever.
Mm.
Like the whole thing's really clever, honestly.
I had the same walk away from that as well. Like I said, vastly different my experience from that first initial review to the deeper dive. The way I'm kind of processing it is the characters are having a time loop,
Okay.
but time still progresses. Personally, I did like losing those skills because they're pretty easy to get.
Yeah, yeah.
You don't feel like you have to like build up a lot, but then also you prioritize which ones you do get based on what you're planning on doing that run. There was a certain obstacle I was trying to get around in my second run through, and because I'd unlocked enough of the skills the first time, I'm like, okay, I need this one, and this one. Oh, it was the seed throw ability, and so being able to do that, you could then put it on a roof or a wall, that kind of thing. And so doing that would then unblock and allow me to pass through. And so yeah, for that second run through, I was then focusing on that, and I think that's a really cool way of doing it because then obviously each run through you'll then adapt your playstyle to what you're trying to do. But then of course, like you do have, I don't remember what they're called, but the special pickups that you can get, which allow you to lock in abilities permanently. So even if you do go through that time loop again, you're
Right.
permanently.
Keep certain ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What draws me to games is, summing it in one word, is uniqueness.
Mhm.
And to expand on that more is like trying new mechanics. And even for games that kind of fall flat, I still do appreciate them just for trying to be different and daring to do something that no one else is doing.
Mhm.
But Ultros, I think they nailed that. They attempted something different and they succeeded quite well. I mean, even like the art style is very different, very trippy. The whole setting's very unique. And also like mechanics like the consuming food, variation in your combat to get the perfect cut to then get better sustenance.
Mhm.
Everything in the game, despite being Metroidvania, which is honestly been done to death. I played so many of them. The majority of them I've probably forgotten, and I have no recollection of them. This one I can firmly say I will not forget this one for all the good reasons. It's such a well done game.
I think I can agree with that just from the little bit more that I played. At the very least, it definitely has unique mechanics that clearly neither one of us really saw in our first hour with it. So it's like just going in and maybe like I guess for any listeners who like think that they might want to try this, like it's worth putting in probably at least 2 hours into it before you make a decision on
Mm.
it because that's when you really start seeing like is this something for you or not because that's when it starts playing its like better cards
Mhm.
because yeah the plant thing was that's a really clever mechanic
Mm.
they even had if I'm not mistaken I think there's even a skill node that you can get where you could see all the plants on the map
Yes.
which makes it easier to kind of like retrace where you need to go. And like you said, like getting your skills back is pretty easy. Like I pretty much got all my skills back within, I don't know, like 15 minutes or so after going through the loop. I guess it's one of those rare instances where on paper the idea of losing progress, so to say, sounded really horrible to me. Like I was just like, oh, this does not sound like a game I would want to play. But in practice, it's actually really, really well done. Like
Yeah.
you don't really feel like you lost anything, which is good. I think though my initial like first impression thoughts though, as far as like the storytelling and the art goes, like as far as the art style goes, it kind of was growing on me. I'm like not the biggest fan of like psychedelic kind of art.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know. And even there was even some instances in there where I thought that because of all the colors on screen, it made certain things like hard to read visually. I mean,
Okay.
like I think there was a time in the boss fight where I was just like, oh, what do I have to do here? Because there was just like, I mean, like it was getting that thing on top of his head,
Yeah.
but there was like something else I wasn't really quite sure of in the fight if I was doing something right. And I think it's just because like just the vibrancy of the color.
Personally, I really liked the visual style. It was very different, very unique, very vibrant. But yeah, I can say like, you know, for a lot of people it could be very off-putting, but like, you know, tomato or Ultros rather.
Ultros. The storytelling, world building bit, I'm not a fan of that sort of like abstract, vague storytelling. Things don't have to be completely direct for me. Like I don't mind a bit of like ambiguity and interpreting things on my own. But like when it's just like so loose, like how it pretty much is here, especially it being kind of like a weird setting as well. Like it's not anything that you could really grasp. That kind of stuff just doesn't appeal to me. Kudos for making like a really unique game. I'm not sure that I would go and play it though.
Okay. Me personally, I can definitely see myself coming back to this. It's not like highest priority on my backlog, but I did enjoy it enough, like I said, in a very overcrowded genre to at least want to go back to it at some point. Whether I do it is another story.
That's how it is for me with every single game that I say is a must play. So here we are on the last one, Corpse Keeper, which was one that I took. Mainly because I didn't want you feeling like I was taking like all my favorites. So
No, it's fine. Like I said, I enjoyed all of these games enough to be okay with doing a deep dive into any of them.
That's probably good on your end, because like I have to say that like so I placed this in Don't Bother With.
Yeah.
The more I played, the more I'm pretty confident in my decision of putting it into Don't Bother With. It sounds horrible to say, but I mean, so many people were saying this, and I wholeheartedly agree. It just the game needed more time to cook. Like
Yeah.
it needed more time for like just an extra layer of polish, because things just feel they feel rough.
They do.
And things are like not explained very well.
Yeah. The narrative as well, the story, like I think you mentioned something about it, but
It just plops you right into it.
well, there is like the whole first bit, and it does explain it, but it's so irrelevant to the actual gameplay.
Yeah.
Like it might as well not even be in there.
I didn't even really know what we were doing in the gameplay that was relevant to the actual story. I guess we're trying to kill someone, I suppose.
Eventually, like the demon, I assume.
Right.
It could have been anything. It could have been unicorns and fairies and a happy story. It just really didn't matter.
Oh yeah, you mentioned in your review that you didn't really know what the day timer was.
I figure like it's probably game over.
Yeah. That's exactly what it was.
Okay.
So apparently you need to beat all of the bosses or whatever in that like 15-day allotment.
Okay.
However, this is like one of those things that just wasn't really explained. I didn't even know how to fight a boss.
Did you come across any bosses?
No.
Okay.
So there was so like when you go to the level selector or like the area select,
Yeah.
the one on the far right, I'm assuming is the boss, but you needed like a certain type of bones or soul, or I don't remember what it said, but you needed something special, and I had no idea how to get it.
Right.
My guess is though is the expectation is you're not going to beat it on your first run, and so what you do is you have to use the blood to put into the altar, which gives you more starting possessions when you start a new run over again. The whole mechanics surrounding the maintenance and the construction of the corpses, you know, alternatively to Ultros, which was like sounded bad on paper, but actually ended up being good. This to me sounded good on paper, but in practice it wasn't executed very well. To me, I thought the system was pretty convoluted and tedious. For instance, I guess the one thing is in order to make a fighter, you need a certain number of specific bone of that fighter.
Yeah.
I just thought that was maybe just a little bit too restrictive. I think probably to keep that system in place, but maybe streamline it, is they could have just had like classes of fighters, like maybe light, medium, heavy fighters, and then all the enemies you would face would fall into one of those three categories. So you just need light, medium, or heavy fighter bones or whatever.
Hmm.
But instead, you need like, 5 of this or 5 of that or 5 of whatever, on top of like also needing like 10 meat to give them their like their muscles and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought that system could have just been thought out better and probably explained better, honestly.
Yeah, definitely.
And then the fighting itself, I think the fact that it resembles a fighting game, like something like, Street Fighter or something like that.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe somebody getting into this game would probably expect a little bit more.
Okay.
I feel like they should have took the fighting a bit further. I'm not saying that I was amazing at this game or whatever, but it mainly was just like spam the attacks and time your parry.
Yeah.
Is how I felt it. And I guess there was a dodge, but I wasn't really sure why you would do the dodge versus just trying to time your parry so that you can get an attack in. So I wasn't really sure why. Maybe there were some attacks that you could only avoid if you dodged. Maybe that's what the case was. I'm not sure on that though. But they didn't really like make the combat complex enough for it to feel like you're not doing the same repetitive thing again and again and again.
Yeah.
Each of the characters have their own move sets that can be modified as you're playing the game,
Yeah.
right? But I think there was 2 problems with that system in that, one, I don't really think you have a feel for those moves unless you could actually try them out. And you can't try them out unless you're actually in a fight.
Yeah.
Like a lot of fighter games will have like a training room, right, where you could kind of like test that stuff out. The other problem that I found with that mechanic was when you would modify the moveset, it took it out of context to the greater combo.
Hmm.
Like in order to do the different moves, you would have to like, this is attack 1 when you click X, this is attack 2, attack 3 in the moveset. But like you didn't really know how this was chaining together with the other moves, which I definitely didn't like that. But yeah, just so many things like that. Like once again, comparing it to Ultros in terms of like being unique, this game certainly is unique. Like it's trying to do something different, and I think that's cool. I just think like all around, like it could have just had like certain things could have been rethought out. The certain things should have been polished up better. You know what? I think I did click on the dev and it seemed like he probably made a game before this. I don't think it was like the same type of game, but maybe if they return to this style of game in the future and like a sequel, they might be able to bring that level of quality, I guess, to the game to make it appeal more.
No, I think you covered it all pretty well. The combat surprised me. I didn't expect a roguelike fighter, basically, which is essentially what it was.
Right.
But yeah, you're right. Like, I was mostly going to spam attack as much as possible and get the parries right. The only thing beyond that, like, I did notice you could feint if you did an attack and then did parry, I think. And so you could kind of, even for like the AI opponents, you could coax out an attack from them and then parry that.
Okay. I probably forgot about that completely. I think I do remember them saying something like that in the tutorial.
Oh, did they? I don't even remember them explaining it.
I think they may have said that in the tutorial,
Okay.
but I completely forgot it when I went back.
Okay, I see. Yeah, it had more depth than I expected, but the biggest issues with it were the roguelite elements to it. Like you said, you didn't have enough time to get used to these attacks to know what you were changing, and so I was just going through, like, yeah, whatever, change that, and honestly, it could have been changing nothing and I wouldn't even notice.
Yeah, that's so true. Like again, like you don't really know what the moveset is to begin with, so it's like when you change it, like, well, I guess it's doing more damage, or I guess it's a little bit faster, but a lot of the times I never knew if I was like making it to that third move in my combo, like and that could just be me, because I know in like fighting games, like trying to get the button combinations right, like you have to know where you are in the combo to get it correctly. So maybe to someone who is more familiar with fighting games, that might not have been as much of a problem.
I think the biggest issue I had of all, though, it felt just very repetitive.
Yeah.
The actual settings, even like the different locations, it was pretty much the same thing, just different skin.
Yep.
Maybe the enemies that showed up were a little bit different, but honestly, it could have been the exact same location. I would have even known or cared.
Yep.
There were random events in there, but like, it didn't feel random enough to really engage me. I think that was just the biggest issue overall, because they were attempting to do something very different. And like I said, whenever something tries to do something that hasn't been done before, I will always view it more optimistically and be much more open to it. But I think it comes back to what you said. It wasn't polished enough.
Yeah.
I think it needed to be cooked out a little bit more. I also know it's hard, certainly as a solo dev, you want your game out as soon as possible. You want feedback on it. You don't want to spend too many years working on it.
Yeah, like definitely a small team, but I wouldn't be surprised if this was just like a solo dev effort. That's kind of like what it felt to me. Like they had an idea, they put it together, and they just, at some point you just got to be like, the game's done. And just put it out there and move on to your next thing, because you could go down the rabbit hole with these types of things and just keep on like trying to work on it. On the flip side of that, first impressions are kind of everything too. So like if you don't have like a solid game that like somebody's going to be like, yeah, this is really good. Like, I mean, it kind of seemed like the game was riding off of the uniqueness more than anything else, and just kind of hope that like the uniqueness of the game would be the reason why people would buy it and keep playing it and whatnot. It's just not held up enough with everything else.
Yeah, definitely not.
Oh, what did you think of IGN Plus? That was like their little extra.
Oh, that's not the first time they've tried that. They've tried it before in the past.
Oh, okay.
And every time I ignore it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. No, thank you, IGN. I don't want that.
How many people are like actually using IGN Plus? Like, I can't imagine, like I feel like most people, if they want gaming news, are probably just like reading articles or watching trailers on YouTube.
Yeah, I think that's where the majority are doing it. At first glance, it looks like it's completely free, right? And you can kind of lock yourself into the subscription.
I'm pretty sure that's what they're trying to do, right? Like, they've given you free 30 days, but I'm betting you anything that like you got to put in a credit card or something so that people forget, and then they pay the next month and like, oh crap, I gotta.
That is so predatory.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe it's also like boost their numbers to make it seem like, oh yeah, look, we got all these people.
Oh yeah, there's that too. Show their shareholders. Yep, could be trying to do a Sony.
Sony. What did Sony do?
They were making people register to the PS network in order to play like Helldivers 2 and like all of the Sony's catalog on PC.
Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah, that was like a big kind of thing. I think they got rid of it for a while, and then they were like, oh well, we're gonna bring it back.
Yeah.
And that of course wasn't. Yeah, people didn't like that.
Last I heard, is it gone now completely?
I think so. I think they eventually did get rid of it, but I think it like still exists in some of their other games. Like, I'm pretty sure you still need to do that for like Ghost of Tsushima.
Oh wow, okay.
Like, I'm pretty sure that was another one that you needed to do that with. And I mean, they just know that like, really popular games like that get away with it because so many people want to play it on PC.
Yeah. And then at shareholder meetings they can say, look, we had so many more people join up with us, whereas, it's not really reflective of the audience.
PC users who don't even own a PlayStation.
Yeah. And they're not actually getting money from, but
right.
Anyway. Well, sorry, not directly.
Yeah.
Well, mind you, there is no difference. There is no change because they would have bought the game already.
Right.
That's it for this episode of Humble Talk. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to like and subscribe. And remember, whether you're decked out or specced out, keep it humble.